This video explains why a huge PR campaign to portray Ratan Tata of India as a paragon of virtue does not fly with me because of his sordid background and that of other Indian old money and new money industrialists and businessmen. Hello, friends. This is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. I belong to two WhatsApp groups, one with my engineering school colleagues and the second with my MBA colleagues from India. Almost every month or so, videos are circulated showcasing the great deeds of Ratan Tata, his legendary business acumen, incredible successes in most business endeavors the Tata Group has undertaken, his innumerable charitable deeds and activities as a great humanitarian. It is one of the most all-round enviable records of accomplishments established by any human being in the world. However, what has deeply disappointed me about Ratan Tata is his lack of moral character. Moral character is the ability to know right from wrong and having the willpower to always do the right against any odds, threats, pressure, or temptations. Ratan Tata is sorely lacking on that score. Germany continued World War II clandestinely just 2 years after unconditional surrender at the end of the war, when the German masquerader President of the United States, Harry Truman, and German masquerader Prime Minister Clement Attlee of the United Kingdom made the decision to give the German government the responsibility of denazifying Germany. Within a very short time, the Nazis were back in power. Before the end of the war, when they had assessed that the war could not be won, they had already decided to pursue export led growth after the war to make Germany economically strong. In white countries, particularly the United States, British Commonwealth nations, France, and Russia, they entered into partnerships with all the German masqueraders in these countries to continue their clandestine war, financed by robbing these countries of their wealth by connivance with the masqueraders. In other countries around the world, particularly those that had contributed armies to fight the Germans, like India, they made alliances with top businessmen. In the 1950s and early 1960s, the top business houses in India were the Tatas, Birlas, the DCM Group, which is the Delhi Cloth and General Mills Group, the Modis, etc., who are Marwadis and Baniyas of Rajasthan. That Tata Group has a more than 150-year-old history. Nazis were embedded in German corporations as technical advisors and continued the war clandestinely. They promised great financial rewards to the industrialists in India if they would join the clandestine war on their side. The target they chose to destroy was primarily the Sikhs because they constituted more than 25% of the British Indian Army that fought the Germans during World War II and contributed about 40% of its Indian officers. The industrialists first had to demonstrate their commitment to the German side by murdering a white Briton or American of non-German ancestry. That hurdle qualification was met by all the top industrialists, including the Tatas. Ratan Tata also met that qualification personally. Ratan Tata, therefore, is first and foremost a murderer, and a murderer cannot be forgiven. Ratan Tata has shown absolutely no repentance for the murder he committed. The Tatas are Parsis ethnically. Just like most Indian ethnic groups, Parsis were also represented in the British Indian Army and fought the Germans during both world wars. After the war, merely to gain financial rewards from the Germans, the Tatars decided to become enemies of their former comrades in the army, the Sikhs. Once they had made a commitment to the Germans, the Tatars, like all other Indian old money industrialists, worked to discriminate against Sikhs in every walk of life, including employment and business opportunities, with the goal of impoverishing them. Another German trait and strategy to control the population growth of their enemies and inflict anguish on them has been to force their best women to have sex with them with threats or money incentives. They have done that in America and British Commonwealth nations, having sexual relationships with girls and then breaking up with them or divorcing them after they had children. That strategy was followed by Ratan Tata. He is famous for having prolific sex with many young women throughout much of his life, and many of his victims were young Sikh women. He cannot be forgiven these crimes committed against Sikhs as a community throughout his life. The Marwadi businessmen of Rajasthan, including Baniyas, have also committed similar and even worse crimes against Sikhs. There are many examples of them hiring Sikh men as engineers and managers in their businesses and industries, sending them away to other towns on assignments, and then forcibly violating their beautiful wives. Such horrendous crimes cannot be forgiven by Sikhs, and these business leaders will pay for their high crimes with their lives. These were the crimes committed by men with old money such as the Tatas, Birlas, Modis, the Baniyas, Oni, the DCM group, and others. The new money businessmen, the Ambanis, Adani, and particularly those in the information technology industry, have also met the German hurdle qualification, which is murder of a white American Briton of non German ancestry or a Sikh, to get help from the Germans and German masqueraders in the United States and Britain to become successful in their businesses. These include the founders of Wipro, Infosys, and many other information technology firms. They too cannot be forgiven for their high crimes and will pay for them with their lives. Therefore, no matter how many video clips people circulate about the incredibly great and good deeds of Ratan Tata, his numerous charitable and philanthropic activities, he will pay with his life for the high crimes he has committed against the British and American people and the Sikhs, even though he is 84 years old and probably has some infirmity. Baniyas live among the Sikhs in Punjab, Haryana, and Delhi states of India. They have practiced all the evils against Sikhs as taught to them by the Germans. One German trait is to pour filth on people, including contaminating their food with filth. God identified this German trait in his prophecies through Nahum the prophet in Nahum 1 verse 14. The Lord has given a command concerning you, talking about the Germans. Your name shall be perpetuated no longer. Out of the house of your gods I will cut off the carved image and the molded image. I will dig your grave, for you are vile. God calls the Germans vile scum, and he will put an end to their evil and filthy ways and will not allow them to be perpetuated any longer after he is done dealing with them. And just as they have poured filth upon people, God has prophesied that he will return the favor on them by having filth cast upon them, as prophesied in Nahum 3 verse 6. And I will cast abominable filth upon you and make you vile, and will set you as a gazing stock, or make you a public spectacle, as many other translations render this phrase. Since the Baniyas have done everything to the Sikhs as they have learned from the Germans, is it any wonder that God delivered a message to me through an angel that the Baniyas are to be destroyed? That is also how the German masqueraders should be dealt with who live in various countries. Just as the German pour filth on people, the Baniyas have poured filth on the Sikhs in Punjab and India. All the Indian businessmen, which includes all the top businessmen and people who joined and made a commitment to the Germans by committing murder, will not be spared. They will all be put to death to the extent we can carry out the judgment, that is, us Sikhs in India. Ethnic groups in India who joined the Germans will also pay a heavy price collectively. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people do not have the time to go through the full length of videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide the capability to make the text of my videos available on YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that capability. So I make the text of my videos available on my Facebook channels, which you can then easily copy.